Hi, welcome back to my channel. I want to do a video on being accountable and aware of like how you are in terms of interacting with other people. And I think it's something, honestly, that as we've moved, as I always mention, from our old astrological era into the new astrological era, which is basically where we focused on other people, now we're moving to focusing on ourselves. If you believe in that, then if you don't. Basically, I'm just talking about how there can be like a ripple effect and like a karmic reap what you sow kind of effect, and how we treat other people and how we interact with other people, because people are so easy, especially like after lockdown stuff, we are all sort of not been talking to each other as much, to be so rude and like project anger from certain situations on other people that's undue. And it really does have like a ripple effect, and if we like can just choose to be like not combative about certain things that happen and like just take certain stuff, or I'm not saying like some people don't have like personality related disorders that don't allow them to project all the time, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how much you can do this in everyday life, and obviously everyone's different, this is like you've got to use it situation to situation. But yeah, sometimes like if someone takes too much energy from you, or you know, you take too much energy from them, there can be a ripple effect. So I've spoke about before like being like only investing the amount of energy you're willing to lose into a situation, and that's one thing, but then there's also a side of reacting to how other people are, because I think there's like a sense of like living in this, like, also I think social media has walked this idea for some people where it's like this, oh, you can't live in a perfect reality, but it also means that we don't have to be horrible to each other. Realistically, yeah, we can't live in like a completely blissful reality every moment like it appears to be on social media, even though you can have loads of blissful moments, but it won't be necessarily always as perfect as social media, but we can still have a great life and be kind to each other. I think there's a level of, I'm noticing I'm being more just having discernment about who you should have time for, and I think that's also a valid point. But I think in some situations you're actually doing yourself more harm than good in reacting to a situation, that you can just learn to forgive easier through these things. I'm just going to talk through it because you can build up, especially from the past, like a lot of bitterness if you're like exposed to a lot of negativity, which can be like disgusting or disturbing to you as a person. It can shock you. That's kind of the point of people being, you know, negative, to get a reaction a lot of the time, or just for various reasons. But being more self-aware and having like empathy towards those people, I think you, as an empath, you've got to be protectant about the energy you exude, but this is kind of even for your own, like, even as an afterthought from like people that will like traumatize you through doing this sort of stuff. Obviously understanding someone's side can always like help, but doesn't always like completely, like I've got to find what works for me properly, because I've always been one of those people where it's like I'm always like, oh, it takes me a while to process stuff, and I do definitely think that's valid, but I've noticed like past trauma will like affect certain behaviours, even to the case I have now, which I'm trying to journal a bit more, which has actually helped me track back some of my personal behaviours to a reaction to guilt and shame and bitterness and anger and repressed emotion that I'd had in the past towards certain situations which I didn't really cope with at the time. So obviously everyone has like problems that are different, so I think there's a case as well of like not judging someone's problems or like trauma that they've experienced. Like, you don't know what they've gone through, you don't know how they react to things, and I think just as I've learned to understand everyone's positive nature in their own specific way, you also have to take their problems in their own specific way, because you can't judge one person's problems to your standard. Like, their problems are going to be different to your problems, they're going to react differently to your problems. Like, you might live a day in their life and think it's too hard or it's too easy or whatever, but there's no reason to be judgmental or angry towards someone else for doing that. So really like holding back that judgment and taking accountability for when you do that, and like also understanding when someone else does it, because it makes it easier to either not intake that negativity or just forgive easier, show empathy towards that person because of whatever, like they're obviously not happy about something. But I also think as an empath and a highly sensitive empath, it's also important to first of all use that discernment of, are they my friend? Is that something I need to even be worrying about in the first place? But the fact is, we do interact with people that aren't our friends a lot of the time. I think less energy should go into it, but also I think just from not developing this really bitter, angry mindset as much as possible. Yeah, so like sometimes Oh yeah, sometimes like you can fret about small things in your head and not even realise what you're fretting about, which is why sometimes just when writing it down or like journaling or whatever can be really helpful to like understand where the root of your problem's coming from. So a lot of the time people are just irritable, and that's normal. Like we do have like days where we're irritable, but like you can't just like go, like you can go around like life like that, but it's easier to actually write it down to just actually get to the root of the issue. So yeah, attacking someone for their problems might be a counterproductive mindset. Or and again, same goes for yourself. You can't attack yourself for your own problems. Asking like a sincere question to yourself. Sorry, I'm reading from notes here, but sometimes asking yourself a sincere question rather than, and this could be in like a prayer or like a journal entry or talking with a friend, like can be really helpful about like why you're actually thinking something. And it was also really interesting to hear this guy say we're writing our own eulogy, which is like a really dark thing, but it's also kind of like gets you to sort of start thinking about what you want to do with your life. But yeah, just trying to be more accountable for like the effects you have on other people. And another thing is to try not to distract yourself. Sometimes. Let me see how long this video is. I think we're going to need to put this into 2 separate videos because I'm starting to get onto loads of different topics. So yeah, I'm going to put this into a part 2, I think, but thanks for listening.